We're always looking for cheap, free running backs off the waiver wire who's got potential to hit either now or later on down the road. One of those running backs are starting to emerge. We're going to look at the data here, look at what we're seeing to see whether or not we want to invest. It's Cam Skattebo, rookie running back of the New York Giants. I found some stuff in his prospect profile that might sell you out of him. I found some stuff in his prospect profile also that might sell you into him. So you're going to want to pay attention to this video. It could be critical for you when things really start to break down later on down the road in the season. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're doing these deep dives every day, giving you the good, the bad, the ugly on all these players. We got rankings. We're looking at all the matchups to help you set your lineups. We're answering your questions in those videos, especially on Saturday nights. And then on top of that, we go deeper on the waiver wire than anybody else. We try to help people in shallow leagues and deep leagues, whatever we can. Click that button. Stop missing out. I'm never going to leave you. Neither is Ric Flair. Don't disappoint him. He's always there. But Cam Skattebo came in last week. 11 carries, 45 yards, a touchdown, 3 targets, 2 catches, 14 yards. You got to understand, over 70 points were scored in that game. There was a lot of volume there. 4.09 yards per carry. So it was a solid performance. Almost 14 fantasy points against the Dallas Cowboys on the road. You're looking at the other running backs. He's the guy, especially if you're just looking at the numbers. He's the guy that's standing out right now, especially when you're looking at the last 2 games. Full participant in practice on Thursday. And he's a very gritty player. He's a player that a lot of people like. He's a player that if he starts exceeding expectations, you're going to catch a lot back on the trade market, especially in Dynasty. Arizona State, he went off. And against the Cowboys, 4.1 yards per carry, 3.18 yards after contact per attempt. Forced 3 missed tackles. We got a fair bit of work there. Got a lot of opportunity in the run game. Our run grade, 82.8. That's solid. That's solid. That's very good. That's only his second game. Missed a lot of training camp due to a hamstring. Speed of game. Looks like it's coming up to him. Looks like things are looking solid there. When you're looking at the numbers, you're watching him out on the field. Had some questions about that in preseason due to him being out with that. Numbers are looking solid. You're also looking at Tyrone Tracy, 5 carries, 15 yards. 3 yards a carry. 3.4 yards after contact per attempt. I think last week he had like 2 yards per carry, so it increased there, but it's also against the Cowboys here versus the Commanders week 1. But Tyrone Tracy, not hitting to his upside, had a 61.7 grade. I know how some people feel about PFF grades. I'm not 100% locked into them. I do throw up the All-22 on NFL Plus. That's a good feature. But this guy was a 0-star. Went to Sac State. If you watch FCS ball, you monitor FCS ball, you know, my friend, was not a heavy recruited player. But we go to Sac State, second year there, 1,300 yards. We go to Arizona State, instantly 786 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's very solid work for a running back, going from FCS to D1. And now, 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns last year, just getting it done. Being solid, a workhorse running back. Yards after the catch per reception, 13.0, 12.5, 11.8, 12 on the career on average. That lets you know he's slippery in space. He takes advantage of space when he gets the ball in the flats. He's got some gusto there. We know he's not the fastest running back in the league, but he maximizes opportunities. That's another thing that says to me. 4.09 yards after contact per attempt. And he had 294 rushing attempts. That's hard to do. That is very hard to do. 1,200 yards after contact. 21 touchdowns. A massive producer at the college level that had you all on notice last year. And he was dominant. Texas, they are just bringing in top-tier talent through recruiting left and right. If you know, you know. If you want to know, hit that subscribe button because once the season's done, we're going deep into high school football recruiting like we do every year, deeper than any other channel like with anything else. Like the top 300, all those players gets there on video, and it's all within a month. And then we go deeper into the 3 stars on those teams that are driving the traffic. Texas is usually one of them. And you're looking at USC. They bring in a lot of talent. Iowa State, Utah, some decent schools here. And then also in the receiving game, you're also seeing them getting done. 121 against Oklahoma State, 117 Texas Tech, 99 on Texas, 98 on Cal, 79 on USC. This guy's a monster. This guy maximizes his opportunities. Now, this is where a lot of people get stuck. They look at the size adjusted athleticism, the speed score, the 4.71 40-yard dash, what they saw during the pro day. They see that on tape. It comes out. You see the burst score around 90th percentile. You have to understand when you're looking at prospects like this, you have to understand what format you're playing in fantasy football and adapt accordingly. So when you see this on a player's chart or in a prospect profiles chart, the shorter window of time, the less games you're looking at for your fantasy formats, the more you throw this out the window. Daily fantasy football, setting a lineup for a week, you throw that right out the window. You're looking at volume. You're looking at game script. That is why we focus so hard on the game scripts when we do the must-start series, and we predict game scripts over players hitting, because in the macro, that's the process that could fuel fantasy points when you're also looking at the workload. When you're looking at this for long-term, like a full year, multiple years, a la more dynasty, then there's a lot more variables that could come into play. Changes of coaches where they want some faster running backs mixed in with them. That's something to pay attention to. That's always going to be there. But when you're looking at this for a redraft right now, for the short term, as you're going game to game to game to game, he's super cheap right now. You're not paying up for him. You can pretty much throw that out the window. On top of that, you got some killer things in his prospect profile. You got elite burst score. So we're very explosive. Then you go to the tape, and you see the contact balance. You see the wiggle. You see his ability to manipulate space. You saw the early portion of training camp where he was killing it. We had the videos on that. He's good in the receiving game. His dominator rating, which is a market share of yards and touchdowns of his offense, 94th percentile. Yards per carry, 5.8, but remember, he was getting so much work. So that kind of reduces it because he gets stuck with the slams up the gut, and he was the offense. And then 14.4% target share, 95th percentile. Just slippery in space in the passing game. So they just had to keep rolling him out, keep getting him the ball. Goes in the 4th round, you're like, that's a day 3 pick. But to counteract that, this is the deepest, most talented running back class of all time, to the point that it's very tricky. You had 2 first-round picks, no first-round picks last year, multiple, I think 4 or 5 running backs in the 2nd round, just one last year, 1 ACL drafted in the 2nd round last year. If you know, you know. Drop that in the comments if you know that one. And then after that, 3rd round, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Caleb Johnson in the 3rd. And now, when we got to the 4th round, we are very excited about these running backs coming off the board still. This is a running back that is very talented and that can hold down the backfield and has a lot of potential. You're looking at this depth chart. Tyrone Tracy needs to hit the expectation and more, because he does have a talented running back in this backfield. Devin Singletary's not getting any work. You're forgetting about the other guys. And the one thing to know, he missed a good bit of training camp due to a hamstring. And then we saw him out in preseason. You're like, the speed of the game's got to come back. It looks like he's starting to come back. It might come back to be even more, though, as we get more acclimated. Tyrone Tracy's a solid running back prospect, former wide receiver, good size adjusted athleticism, hit well in fantasy football last year. On his career, he's averaging 10.6 PPR fantasy points per game, 5.5 fantasy points in week 1, 9.1 in a huge matchup against the Cowboys that went for over 70 points with a lot of plays ran. That buoyed the production. But he's got to step it up because he's got some competition. Best comparable metrically right now due to production, athleticism, Rachaad White. That makes a lot of sense when you look at the numbers and how he plays the game. He's got to step it up, or Skattebo could be taking some carries. He's got to play effective and be more efficient with the ball in his hands. You're looking at his 2024 season. He was not super efficient. Nothing about his game says lights out. 23rd in yards per touch, 34th in true yards per carry, 23rd in evaded tackles, 15th with that speed and explosiveness and breakaway runs, which is fine. You look at the carries, we were 25th, so it's not like we were getting a ton of work. But yards created per touch, 24th. When you're drafted that late, you kind of got to excel in those numbers. When you got competition in your backfield, you got to start excelling in those numbers. So that is something to pay attention to as the weeks go on. Devin Singletary ain't getting work. He ain't getting work. At one time, slippery running back, good in pass protection, a gritty running back, good at FAU. Like, he was a fun prospect. He's a good running back that can find the hole. Coaches love him, but not enough gusto really to get you that upside to win you games and to win you games in fantasy football. But he could become a sneaky play if injuries happen. He does have a history with Houston. He had a good run there. And you're looking at the target share out of this backfield. Tyrone Tracy right now, 13.69% target share with 10 targets. Skattebo was barely used week 1. 5 targets, 6.84. His prospect profile, though, lends to the notion that he's going to be getting work in the passing game. Also, from what we saw in training camp, he was getting targets deep downfield, making guys miss. He's also getting targeted on 22.72% of his routes ran. Versus Tyrone Tracy's getting targeted 20%. That could be a rust thing, but still, Skattebo's good in the passing game. He's slick, he's elusive. That could be a target share that increases if they start giving him more of the snaps and workload as we get deeper into the season. Route participation rate, he's out there 26.5%, and week 1 was very low, so that could go up. Routes ran per game, 11, 24 for Tyrone Tracy. Those could go up, and remember, routes ran per game, that's buoyed by that Cowboys game that had over 50 plays in the passing game because we had George Pickens with 52, 54 routes ran, so I'm going off that number in the back of my dome piece. That being said, we're still getting targeted on a lot of routes that we ran on. On top of that, true yards per carry. Devin Singletary's looking good, but he's got too small of a sample. All these are too small of samples, but we got a good indicator here of 2.97 for Cam Skattebo, 2.6 Tyrone Tracy. He's got a breakaway run rate where the other running backs don't. That's another indicator. Yards created per touch, he's in the 2s, 2.46. The other running backs are left in the dust in the 1s. That's another indicator, and that's an indicator. That does not mean like, hey, he's taking over. That could be an indicator like the coaches are starting to take notice, and they may be like, hey, we got to strategize our touches a little bit better. We got to think about this more. And maybe they're just thinking and not reacting. But those numbers are going to come to effect one way or another, even if we don't see it. And you're looking at what he's doing on the field. Not the most efficient running back yet. And maybe he's just going to be a good grinder for this team that's very stable with good vision for a few years. Or maybe what we saw at Arizona State, Sac State, starts coming into play, and he starts crushing it and becomes like a folk hero again. And you're looking at what this team did last year. It was not good. They didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. Tyrone Tracy was very solid for a rookie, especially a late-round rookie. But some of those numbers indicate that we do need to get more efficient with the ball in our hands by a touch-by-touch basis, especially running the football. 4.4 yards per carry is fine, but it's not elite. He had a 45% share of the rushing attempts. But for fantasy, that's going to get cut into if we don't get more efficient. You're looking at the schedule. Like I said in the intro, I had things that will talk you into him and things that will talk you out of him. And I'm doing pretty good at looking at both sides of the rock here. That being said, look at this schedule. It is nasty. Those red lines are where the defense is ranked versus running backs. And I get it, small sample, just 2 games. But when you read off the teams, you're like, okay, Chargers, holding running backs in check. Chiefs, we know about that defense. Eagles twice coming up. 49ers, Lions, Broncos. Rough schedule. We do have some upside games coming up. Bears and Saints. So right now, if you're looking to hoard them in season, there might be an instance where you may just have to start him due to attrition. But if you don't have attrition, you got him on your roster, there's going to be a lot of hard-pressing times where you just are too scared to start him, and there are just other running backs and better opportunities. There's only so many games that out there that's going to have matchups that bad. He's got some of the worst ones too. A lot of these matchups, you got 3 of them with defenses right now ranked past the top 25 in toughness to running backs in fantasy. And then you got other ones that that's going to have some game scripts where they blow up some running backs. Eagles, for sure. Broncos, for sure. You're definitely going to see that with some of these matchups. That's going to be hard for you to start him. But when you think about that, and you think about attrition at the running back position and it changes throughout the year, one thing about that is touches are touches. And if you're decimated by bye weeks and you're decimated by injuries, you're just hoping that those 10 to 15 opportunities in that game, targets and carries combined, that it can get you in the 10 to 12 range for scoring and everybody else gets you a float for your lineup that week. So you have to think about in that realm too. He's also a young rookie ambiguous running back here that could just explode where the rules don't apply. That could potentially happen. We see that in his profile from Arizona State where some of these matchups he might do well in. They got to deal with Malik Neighbors. Russ Wilson can be very hectic downfield. This is a team that is very ambiguous itself. They got a rough offensive line. That's another thing to pay attention to. That is one of the main weaknesses to this team outside the quarterback play. But it's very ambiguous. That could be leading you astray from him. I look at him as a lottery ticket player that you sit on the back of your bench that you're paying attention to because his situation and talent right now, he has the ability to take over this backfield if he continues to play well. He's got the talent to play well in all matchups. He's got the vision. He's got the footwork, the contact balance. But the thing about this, the offensive line, the game scripts, the schedule is kind of scary. He's a rookie. You got a second-year running back with him. You got a coach that's always talking in media how they want to use up all these running backs, split up the touches. They were saying that with Singletary. That proved to be a lie, though. But you're looking at Skattebo. What I think about him is he's an upside play for the season. I think he could help you out for fantasy football. You just got to understand the asset you're getting here. More of a lottery ticket than a player you're looking to start now. And I would only start him now unless he's starting to prove his worth. Or you're in desperation mode, you don't care, and you're like, hey, I'll take 10 to 12 touches, hopefully more, and we can see if we can cross the goal line this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit your subscribe button on the way out so you don't miss any more of these deep dives. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.